you.
Look around you.
What you see.
What you see.
Do you welcome it?
Do you welcome it?
Do you refuse?
Or do you refuse?
Now we're gonna light this fuse.
Now we're gonna light this fuse. Now we're gonna light this fuse. Now we're gonna light this fuse. Right this moment, you decide. Do you resist it? Or do you go on this ride? Do you go on this ride? Go on this ride.
You know what to do.
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 Well, hello everybody. It's lovely to be here with you. Merry Satsang, where we all come together from all around the world to sit together in a state of authenticity and truthfulness, as in we can drop the defenses and pretenses and the artifice that we might otherwise semi-consciously, unconsciously, or even consciously employ in our transactions with others in the external world for a brief while, and devote this time entirely, in one sense, to ourselves and to each other, and to, by extension, to everyone in the world. Because when even just one of us gets into a deep meditation state, and with an intention to ameliorate the atmosphere in the collective mind, it has an effect. It has a ripple effect that definitely adds to the positive. And when many of us come together as we are here, we exponentially multiply that effect. And we don't do it because we're trying to be saintly, I suggest, but because it makes it better for us if we're living in a milieu which is more beautiful and it feels more beautiful. So everybody wins. And the theme of today is, well, the general theme of this series is really essentially love, the great transformer. Because love, when it's stripped of the romance of it, stripped of any airy-fairy notions about love or any concept of it at all, but just the feeling of relaxing the chest and allowing your heart to be open to whatever is happening or isn't happening around you, within you, in others, and it transforms whatever is for the better. It's the quickest way to liberate reality and allow it to move on. It's as if reality appears from stage left, and it begs your attention, and if you don't give it the attention, or if you resist it by fighting it, ignoring it, distracting yourself from it, it keeps pushing on you until you finally go, yeah, you know, I love you, thank you, I love you, even when it's horrible, I love you. And then it takes its bow, it's been acknowledged, and off it goes. And the next bit of action comes on. The more we sustain resistance to whatever is or isn't, the longer and more vehemently it persists. And the theme of today is loving your feelings, which is, I think, particularly apt for today, because Mercury, having gone into retrograde yesterday, one of the effects of that, it does it 3 times a year for 3 weeks each time, being the planet that rules, or is said to rule, communication. Communication is very much about feelings. It's about communicating your feelings. Communicating thoughts is one thing, but the tricky part is how you communicate what you're feeling to another person, especially when it's an unpleasant feeling. Or how you communicate it to yourself primarily is crucial. And the way you do that, the efficiency or effectiveness with which you do that, really constitutes a large part of what we would generally think of as your mental health. I once, in the early days, I was about 30 or so, went to see a friend of mine was a therapist and wanted to give me some sessions. And, I think it was a bit of competitiveness at the time, because I trained with R.T. Lang, and she wanted to sort of prove that what she did was really just as good and all the rest of it. So I went to the sessions, and very nice the first time. We had a lot of good chat, and the second time I went, she told me before, at the end of that first session, next week we're going to work on your feelings. And I said, okay, fine. Came in, lay down on the couch, and fell asleep. And it was actually, anyway, I fell asleep. 50 minutes later, she woke me up. She said, okay, well, that's the session's over. And I said, wow, I was asleep through the whole thing. She said, well, that's how you deal with your feelings. And I said, it wasn't. It was because I was tired. You should have woken me up. Anyhow, the thing is that there was some degree of truth in that, perhaps. I mean, there's always some degree of truth in anything a therapist says. I mean, I've actually always been pretty in touch with my own feelings, and I've done a lot of work when living in New Mexico with a Reichian therapist. And he used to get me to do catharsis quite a lot, whereby he'd lay out a pile of cushions, give me a tennis racket, and get me to repeatedly whack with force the cushions and shouting, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And whenever I'd kind of slacken off after a few minutes of it, he'd just spur me on and kept me going for 20 minutes or so until I'd lose myself in the trance of this anger. And it was really interesting because I wasn't feeling angry when I went in. I mean, most of the time I think very few of us are aware of feeling angry. But within a few minutes of this conjuring up the sensation, it became quite clear that I could enter into that space and give it exegesis, give it expression. And the faces that I was superimposing on the cushions naturally went through the usual routine of mother, father, teachers, friends, whoever, people who, disappointed me or let me down or betrayed me through the years, then myself, and eventually the Tao, and then nothing. There was no anger. And then after that, there'd usually be some other kind of emotion would come naturally to the fore, like sadness, actually. I remember that maybe there was crying, a sort of a lamenting of something, and then there'd be laughter, and then there'd be neutrality. That was that's the sort of Reichian approach to it. Wilhelm Reich, that is. Arthur Janov as well, the primal scream, was a great advocate of this whole way of expressing your feelings. I mean, I think one of the main there is great value in all of that. In fact, I have to say, there's a guy that I wanted me to do a session with him recently. I took him down to a rehearsal studio in London because it's not easy to make a noise in a big city. And we rented a band rehearsal studio room. It's a horrible little place. Didn't matter. We didn't have a lot of space. Put all cushions out. He had a tennis racket and got him going. We did an hour of that, and it changed his life completely. He'd never been the same since. The interesting thing was, you would not have known him to be an angry guy. He seemed one of the most placid people ever. Jay Strummer once said to me, he was a guy he was in the Clash, he's no longer alive, bless him. He said that he spends his whole day thinking. He said, that's what I do, I think, that's why I am here, that's it, I think. And I said to him, well, yeah, we do, for sure. But another way of saying it is we spend all day feeling. Because in one sense, you could say life is all feelings. In a way, that stuff happens, but it's the feelings we have about what's happening and what we're thinking about what's happening that gives the stuff its significance. Otherwise, it's just stuff. It means nothing. So we have thoughts. It seems in response to the feelings. Which comes first? It's probably very hard to say. Stimulus comes in, you have a thought, you get a feeling attached to it, and vice versa. At least we can say that. But we can actually for sure say that feelings arise, and according to the Taoist schema, there are 5 main feelings, or sort of feeling headings. There's the fear, which incorporates anxiety, nervousness, timidity, lack of will, and that kind of feeling that you can't cope, feeling defeated. That's tending to come with low kidney energy. Then there's anger, as I was just talking about, which also incorporates irritation, frustration, being judgmental, and generally, being judgmental about the human race and about yourself, being highly critical and what have you. And the other side of that is depression, when the anger is turned in on myself. Excuse me. Then you have excitement. As did I say, that comes from the liver, the anger. That hence why we have the word livid, or galled by because the gallbladder sits in the middle of the liver. You have then excitement, excitation, and the other side of that is deflation, and that's being high spirited or low spirited. That's a heart property. with excitement for life comes courage to live the dream and go for it. With deflation, there's a lack of courage. Both of this is all from the heart. And then you have sadness, stroke melancholy, which kind of tends to go with working things in a loop in your mind and just, I don't know, just feeling that the general, there's a sadness to life underlying everything. As you know, people are suffering, we're suffering, all of us are suffering, and you know, we get attached to people and people leave or die, and you know, the pain of life, that sadness and the melancholia that might kind of arise out of that. The other side of which is feeling really focused and with your focus very honed. That comes from the spleen, and when the spleen is low in energy. Then you have grief, nostalgia, the kind of feeling drawn back into the past and feeling the sadness that what was is no more, and or you know, the terrible grief of losing somebody you love, or the breakup of a relationship, and the ability to let go. And the other side of that is feeling inspired by the present moment and inspired and enthusiastic about your prospect, and that comes from the lungs. I have to say that most, you know, in kind of all those decades of treating people, and looking at myself, there seems to me that the biggest block and the kind of underlying feeling that has to be dealt with and accommodated most fundamentally is fear. And this tallies with the kind of the vital organ schema, in that the kidneys are at the root of the vitality of all the other organs. When the kidneys are strong, all the other organs have at least a chance of being strong. Likewise, when the kidneys are weak, the other organs start to fail as well, is according to this system. And fear is a really interesting one, but just examining it is helpful. According to the system, there are 5 kinds of fear, 5 main kinds of fear, and they come in this order of importance, or in the order of how much they impact on you from moment to moment in any given time. The first fear is the fear of not making a living. This is number 1. Number 2, the second most powerful fear, is the fear of looking like a fool, you know, just the fear of humiliation. The third fear, in order of impact on you, is the fear of dying, or the fear of death. The fourth fear is, in order of importance, is the fear of being, what the Buddhists would say, being reborn into an evil life, what the Catholics might say, being, you know, going to hell. In other words, some sense of, after you've left this life, some sense of eternal damnation, punishment, what have you, kind of retribution for whatever you've done wrong in this life. The fifth fear, in order of importance, is the fear of passing through unpleasant, inconvenient, painful conditions, circumstances while in this life. And just being able to see that, just being able to enumerate the 5 fears is in itself really helpful, just because you know that other people have charted it, and it's not just you that's going through this. It's good to know that you're not alone in the fear. It is universal. With the anger, there's the frustration, with the tendency to blame other people, or you know, external conditions for things, or to blame yourself, rather than taking responsibility for manifesting whatever's going on and loving it as that and allowing it to transform, which is what we're going to be doing today. The tendency to blame, be irritable about, be judgmental, and if not done something about, tending towards depression or inertia. And in a sense, really, all the anger is just a cover over of the fear, because you know, when you're angry with life for not being as you want it to be, what's underneath that is the fear that you'll never have it like you want it to be, that you're not good enough, the fear that you just can't have it the way you want it. It's that, I call it anguish. It's a combination of anxiety and anger, and that's quite apt as well, because in this system the liver is supported by the kidneys. It's almost treated in acupuncture as an appendage of the kidneys. When we work with somebody's liver, it would be very rare that you wouldn't first attend to the kidney energy and make sure that that's stable. Then we come to the feelings that come from the heart. It's the excitement about being alive. And when there's too much heat in the heart, this excitation gets too much, and that's when you get, well, actually what, the modern culture, certainly in the UK and I think America, Germany's catching up, TV culture anyway, the kind of X Factor, superstar phenomenon, the kind of rave music thing where you get the, that kind of effect where the DJ's trying to get the crowd whipped up into a storm of excitement about absolutely nothing but a very simple digital signal, really, with a kind of an accelerator effect on it. It's kind of gratuitous jerking of the excitation stimulus inside the body, and that is really prevalent today. There's a lot of heat in people's hearts, and people are very prone to being excited by essentially insubstantial offerings. I could, enumerate my opinions of what I think in the modern culture are completely meaningless, insubstantial offerings, but that's just my opinion. It's not really the place to go into that now for a grumpy old man to start venting about the bullshit in the culture. I'm not going to do that now. But you think you get my drift, this idea that the kind of gratuitous excitation that has no real underpinnings of value to it at all. A balanced heart, the beautiful feeling is the true joy. They're just, oh, I love this. Like, I'm loving being here with you. I have to remind myself to do that. And a big part of what today's about is reminding us all to do that, because we forget instantly and fall into self-pity, which I'll come to next. So to remind ourselves to love being alive, because if somebody came at you with a gun right now and was about to, have the thing cocked and was about to pull the trigger, you'd realize immediately how valuable it is, each second of being here. What a gift. This is the gift. Being alive is the gift. And the joy of feeling that is the prize. That's really what we all want. That's what we're all going for. It's what we do everything for. Even the going for the safety and the security is really so that we've got a safe place in which to feel the joy. Well, the approach of the Taoist system is to say, feel the joy first and all the rest of it will come anyway. Jesus said, seek ye peace and all else will be added. It's the same thing. With this comes courage, comes desire as well, and comes loving whoever, whatever is going on. The other side of all of that is feeling deflated, feeling disappointed, feeling let down, losing your faith, and so on. And then we have the sadness, melancholia, from which comes self-pity. There's that, oh, why is this happening to me? This shouldn't be happening. This wasn't meant to happen. Instead of just realizing that everything that's happening is exactly what's meant to be happening, and that everything somehow or other works together for your highest good. The opposite, therefore, of which is faith and resolve, that determination just to keep going because you know that it's going to turn for the better if it's not going well, and so on. And then you have the grief and the nostalgia, which is very much to do with not being able to accommodate what is occurring, the amount of information, the things that have changed, that have got better and have got worse. Usually it's both, isn't it? Progress seems to entail both. But the kind of lamenting the good old days when life was beautiful, when life was sweet, when life was easy, before mobile phones, before computers. In fact, really, I've kind of taken myself back there with great clarity many times at the times of lamenting what's gone, and remembered really it wasn't really any different at all, because it's all relative. It's always had the same abrasiveness to it. It's always had the same pressure to it. It's all relative. And it's not that we're really more pressured now than we ever used to be. It just seems that way. It just seems that way. And I truly believe that. But the tendency to get stuck in the past and lament it, or that awful grieving of what's gone and can never be got back, or who's gone and can't be got back, that is quite a powerful force. Again, underlying that is fear as well. The fear of being divorced from the source of all goodness, the source of all succor. And the opposite of that is an enthusiasm for what is happening now. an enthusiasm for life as it is, to grab it by the horns and really ride it. And that implies resolve and well, future focus as well. I think maybe even sometimes taken to the extreme. But the idea that you're moving in an amazing adventure, and it's just amazing to be here. But anyway, these feelings and all their subdivisions and nuances are pretty much revolving constantly around the body, just in the same way as the energy is moving through the body constantly, through the different vital organs, and producing different effects, different tones. And as a result of these feelings, we have thoughts and thought patterns, you know, opinions and strategies that we're making up. And what we tend to do is to cling to the good feelings, quite naturally, and try and avoid the bad ones. We try to change them, distract ourselves from them, do anything other than kind of enter into them. And in the clinging to the good feelings, if this implies a kind of fear that we're going to lose them. So basically, clinging just gives rise to fear, which sends you back into the negative again. And the changing of the so-called bad feelings and the trying to distract ourselves from them, resist them, fight them, change them, or do anything to not feel them, it makes them persist. You know, whatever you fight persists. And the Taoist approach, and I have to confess, it's taken me a long time to get to this in my own practice, but I have been, you know, I think in the last 7-8 years or so, it's become pretty strong in me. And I have to vow, I can truly vouch for the efficacy of this as an approach, that to be able to love the feeling, whatever it is, and especially the so-called bad feelings, is the fastest way of transforming them. And it really feels counterintuitive. It's like, how can you love a bad feeling? Isn't that masochistic? Isn't that twisted? But really, ultimately, good and bad are merely subjective, and that they're only good or bad because we make them so. In fact, essentially, all feelings, whatever they are, good or bad, are a sign of being alive. And because life is the gift, and really the only gift, all other gifts are secondary to being alive. Beautiful if you're feeling horrible. That's okay. You're feeling something. It means you're alive. You can work with that. If you love it, it transforms. One of the fundamental principles of this practice is to learn to transcend preferences. And I always, at the risk of being a bore for being repetitive, there is just this classic Taoist tale, which I don't think loses anything in the repetition. The old Taoist farmer in the north of China with a small holding and a workhorse and a 21-year-old or so son, or an 18-year-old son, his able-bodied, strong young son. And that is his wealth in the world, and he's happy with that. He manages to eke a living from his small piece of land. His workhorse does whatever needs to do, pulling the plough, and his young son helps in all ways, and he gets by, and they've got a good life. And one day, the workhorse runs away, and that means a big part of his wealth has deserted him. This is a major misfortune for him, and all the neighbours come round, as neighbours would, and commiserate with him. And he says, not necessarily so bad. And they go, it's Taoist, we thought you'd say something like that. They leave him alone. The next day, the workhorse, who's met this beautiful wild stallion out in the forest, comes back with the wild stallion in tow. Everybody comes around to congratulate him because this is a major win. Not necessarily so good, was all he could say. They think this is slightly churlish. However, the next day, his young, beautiful son goes out riding on the horse, gets thrown, gets made lame for life, and this is a tragedy. And it's horrible. His son has been crippled, and all the neighbours come round to commiserate. And the Taoist says it's not necessarily so bad, and this is a little too much for their sensibilities, and they ostracise him. But a few months later, when the Mongolian armies, the fierce armies of Genghis Khan, invaded from the north, and all the able-bodied young men in that region were conscripted, all of whom lost their lives in the fierce battles that ensued, but not the farmer's son, because he was spared conscription. And he could go on and on and on. But that's a nice explanation, or kind of a way of pointing out how not necessarily good, not necessarily bad. And it's exactly the same with the feelings. And I remember coming back, I don't know if I've told you this story, from a very rainy, cold, miserable meeting up in Liverpool. And it was just horrible weather up there, and it was a really dull, soulless place that I was having the meeting in. The meeting came to nothing, and I kind of knew it would anyway. So it was a kind of a bit of a wasted day. Came back to London. There was no one there to meet me at Euston Station, as I wasn't going to be anyway. Don't know why I thought there would be. It was cold and dark in Euston Station. And I suddenly felt this amazing pang of deep loneliness, like absolute loneliness, of desolation. And the instinct was immediately to reach for my phone and just call somebody. But I stopped myself. And I thought, no, don't fight it. Don't change it. Don't run away from the feeling. Stop. I have created everything in my life, I've manifested everything in my life that has come until this point to get me to exactly this moment, experiencing precisely this feeling in my belly right now, because this makes me feel alive. And it came spontaneously. I didn't sort of learn to say that. No one taught me to say it. It came spontaneously. And in that realization was this incredible sense of liberation. No longer did I have to fight what I was feeling. No longer did I have to change it. There was absolute grace in surrendering in that moment to whatever I was feeling, as there is to surrendering in this moment to what I'm feeling, you surrendering to whatever you're feeling. So really what we're saying is love life in every single of its aspects, in all its cruelty, in its ugliness and smelliness and darkness, as much as in its brightness and beauty and sweetness and lovely fragrance and all the rest. Love it, and it transforms for the better. Love what's going on, and it transforms. And what's going on is not really what's going on out there. You know, we think of out there, this place out there where everything's going on. It's not really going on out there. People are doing things, many of which will affect us, all of which will, I suppose, in some way or another, and vice versa. But what's really going on, the real experience, is what's going on in here, inside us. And it's the feelings. That's what's really going on, is what we're feeling. And so if you love what you feel, whatever it is, you transform it into love, because love transforms into itself, and thereby you transform the world for yourself. You transform your whole life into love. And again, I have just to reiterate that when I talk about love, I'm not really talking about, it doesn't have to be nice, it doesn't have to be sweet. You know, love can be ferocious as well, but it's powerful, and it's beautiful, and it's warm, it's passionate, it's not cold, it's not indifferent. That's the thing. Love is the glue that connects us somehow. It's the bit that makes us care. So start by acknowledging that you've manifested everything exactly as it. I mean, this might not be true. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to claim this to be absolute truth. I'm not sure anyone can claim anything to be that. I'm just suggesting it as an experimental stance to adopt and see what happens. You start by acknowledging that you've manifested everything in your life exactly as it is and has been to lead you to exactly the feeling you have right now in your belly, because this is what makes you feel alive. Now, if it's a nasty feeling, a feeling of conflict, which it must be to some extent, because being human implies being in conflict. You know, you have the force of yin and the force of yang, the force of contraction and the force of expansion. You know, as what we might say in the West, you have the little devil and the little angel vying constantly for you, for your attention. So there must be conflict. Now, conflict is where growth arises, whence growth arises. Even if it's really strong, the conflict, even if what you're feeling is painful, it doesn't mean that you're mad to make that be the feeling because that's what makes you feel alive. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean there's an aberration or anything. It just means that you need that much intensity right now. And if you can love that, if you can love yourself creating that intensity in your belly, it immediately transforms it. and it can transform it into something sweeter, something easier, something softer on the system, if that's what you want, without losing the intensity. So whatever you're feeling right now, the first thing I think is to somehow identify it. You have a little stop and you think, and you probably feel totally fine. I mean, you might well be kind of semi-entranced by me talking and not be aware of feeling anything very much right now. But if you kind of look back over the last week or the last 24 hours, as I said, there's been a big solar flare activity, and that generally, I've noticed, tends to stir the feelings quite strongly, as well as which Mercury in retrograde does seem to affect the feelings on some deep level in the way we communicate to ourselves about them. Just look at what you've been feeling and kind of give it some kind of identity, some sort of name, some sort of shape that you can associate with. Of course, it can be a compound. It doesn't have to be just one of those 5 main headings. It could be some kind of mishmash of them all. But, you know, give it some kind of name, even if it's Roger or something, just so you can deal with it. And then ask yourself, could I let go of wanting to change this feeling? Let's assume it's fear, for example. Could I let go of wanting to change this fear? And then you have to say, yes, I could let go of wanting to change it, because theoretically you could, couldn't you? You don't have to get stuck on changing it. So, yes, I could let go of changing this. And then ask yourself, would I let go of wanting to change this? And then you answer, yes, I would. I would let go of wanting to change this. And in that kind of semi-theoretical exchange with yourself, you'll notice that whatever you were feeling there or remember feeling there, it's not really happening there anymore at all. And actually, when I say there, I need to specify, I mean in your belly. That's where the feelings seem to be experienced most, is in the upper abdominal area. Whether they're coming from the kidneys, the liver, the spleen, the heart, the lungs, or wherever they're coming from, it seems to be there that the feelings are experienced most. This also applies to feeling tired, lazy, apathetic, nervous even. You know, it's not all just about feeling the emotions. It's that, oh, I can't be bothered to do this. These are the sort of secondary knock-on feelings. Even that, could I let go of wanting to change this? Yes, I could. Would I let go of wanting to change this? But the way to affect the intervention here with true effect, and which we're going to do in a minute, is quite, in a way, quite pragmatic. It's just about radiating the chi from the heart to that part of the belly, to the upper abdominal area. So you're just basically stimulating the heart energy, which is love in its purity, and sending it into the belly to affect the feeling that you have there. And we're going to do this by coming back behind the heart so that you're in command of what it's doing, coming back behind the belly so that you're in command of what goes on there, and coming back behind the forebrain, because that's where the thoughts go on. All the associated thoughts, the thoughts associated with the feelings, occur in the front part of the brain. When you can come back behind that into what is essentially the amygdala, which are the 2 little lobes that hang down behind the pineal gland, which we talk about getting into by coming into the back of your skull, you take command of what's going on in the front of the brain. You're no longer kind of interfered with by it. And then once we're back behind it, we're going to stimulate the heart chi, send it into the belly to affect whatever's going on in their feelings-wise, and compound that with the notion, the thought, the intention of, I love this, I love this, it makes me feel alive, I love being alive. That notion, I love this, it makes me feel alive, and I love being alive. That's the message really that we're sending constantly. So, you know, if there's a part of you that's thinking, I don't know what love is, I'm not feeling love, I don't want to get into some silly nonsense about it, what is it? It's like, just think back to the last time that you ate something, saw something, heard something, smelt something, felt something, you know, it's a tactile sensation that made you go, oh, I love this, I love this. The last time, and we've all had that happen enough times, or it could be a person or an animal. that you have that thing, oh, I love you, I love you. In that moment, that feeling, oh, I love you. Or it could have just been a simple feeling of just, oh, I love my life. I love being alive. This is amazing. I love it. Despite all the unpleasantness and the conflicts inside. So that's the plan, and let us now engage in it directly. Take a moment to relax. I do advise sitting upright. And though, and this is an awful waste, I know, it's like leaving the taps running when there's a water shortage, which there is, even with all the rain in the UK. The slideshow that Sue has so lovingly and painstakingly prepared is very, very beautiful. If you could just let it be something that causes the colours and shapes a bit to shift in front of your eyelids, it would be good. Because really it would be good to lower your eyelids now, pretty much all the way, but leave a slight slit at the bottom to let the light come in. And imagine someone suspending the crown of your head upwards towards the ceiling, and that makes the back of your neck get longer. Drop your shoulders, let the shoulder girdle broaden. Imagine you're an angel and you've got a pair of big fat angel wings, and the weight of them is causing your shoulder girdle to drop and expand sideways to broaden. Let your hips feel broad. You might want to put a hand underneath each buttock from the sides and pull the flesh laterally outwards so that you get more expanse between the two sit bones. Raise your breastbone just a millimetre, just a slight nuance, just a nuance of a gesture. It's a gesture of rising up to everything that is beautiful, to rising up to your nobility. And stop holding your breath. Let your breath relax completely. Let your diaphragm relax completely, and allow the breathing to flow slowly and smoothly and silkily and softly and silently. And get a sense of there being a sapphire in your belly, behind your belly button, rotating on its axis slowly and casting a beautiful sapphire light all around your lower abdominal area. That's just to kind of give you a centered feeling. That's to gather you in your dantian, or your field of heaven, in the lower part of your body. This is the center of your physical form. And just becoming aware of it makes you into a unified shape rather than being scattered. So you're gathered now, you're assembled, you've arrived in your body on the physical plane. Visualize behind the center of your breastplate a ruby turning likewise on its axis in a clockwise direction, casting a beautiful, rich, crimson light all around your chest, which is warming you and taking your defenses down, because there's nothing to be defended for in this moment. We're safe right now. And causing a sense of warmth and love and joyfulness very lightly in the chest. And in the center of the brain, visualize a clear, bright diamond turning on its axis, and as it turns, casting a beautiful white light all around your brain to cleanse you of all dark thoughts, of all fear thoughts, of all toxic thoughts of any kind. In fact, to cleanse you of all thoughts, just to let your brain rest. And now tilt your torso back, and just a millimetre or so. It doesn't have to be a lot. Again, it's a nuance of a gesture. To tilt your person, the presence within you, backwards inside of you, so that you're resting up against the rear of your body. Inside your head, you're resting up against the back of the skull. Inside your chest, you're resting up against the spine behind your heart. And inside the belly, you're resting up against the front of the spine behind your belly button. And you can feel your hip bones, you can feel your sacral bone, and you can feel your shoulder blades, and you can feel the bone at the base of the skull, at the back of the skull, and you are in the back of you, as much as you're in the front of you. But being in the back of you, you're able to now take command of yourself. You're in command of the mental energy in the brain. You're in command of the heart energy in the chest. You're in command of the kidney energy, the vitality in the lower abdominal area. And become aware now of your solar plexus, the upper abdominal area. And you could see it as a chamber, if you like, lit by the sun, So it's bright and it's warm in there. And look at whatever you're feeling there. You don't now even have to give it a name. This is just the substance of all feelings, really, that's in there. Become aware of your heart from behind. Be behind the heart and be aware of it. And when I say heart, I mean actually the heart center, in the very center of the chest, which you could visualize as a beautiful rose, the flower, a beautiful rose in the center of the chest, if you like. And breathe in as if breathing in through your belly button, and let the breath come all the way up behind the heart. Then breathe out, and breathe out as if you're breathing through the heart, the heart center, through the heart, and out, down rather, into the solar plexus, into that chamber that's lit by the sun. Just run through that again because I was stuttering a bit. Breathe in through the belly button, up to the heart area. Breathe out through the heart, and from the front of the heart down into the solar plexus area. And again, breathe in through the belly button, up to behind the heart. Breathe out from the back of the heart, through the heart, and from the front of the heart down into the solar plexus area. And as you breathe in, you're breathing in that sapphire light, which is full of vitality, bringing it up behind the heart. As you breathe out, it transforms into a crimson light, a rose gold light more even, which rushes through the heart and goes down into the solar plexus and fills the solar plexus with the rose gold light. So you're breathing in through the belly button, up behind the heart, the sapphire light. As you breathe out, it transforms into rose gold. You breathe out, it moves through the heart, down from the front of the heart into the solar plexus area. So that with each successive breath, your solar plexus is becoming progressively more filled with this rose gold light. And whatever you're feeling in there, the fear, I'm really assuming you're feeling probably the whole gamut of feelings in one proportion or another. Whatever it is you're feeling in there about being alive, the intensity of it all, the conflict that's inevitably in there, is being loved. As you breathe in through the belly button, up behind the heart, breathe out through the heart, down into the solar plexus, you're bathing whatever you're feeling in there with love. And the love isn't making it go away, it's not making the feelings go away, but it's transforming the experience of the feelings into one of beauty. Even the fear, even the sadness, even the grief, even the pain of being alive is transformed into something beautiful. Now keep doing it and breathing out into the solar plexus until the rose gold light that you're feeling in your solar plexus is so powerful, so all-embracing that it has to burst out. It has to burst forth from you and surround your entire body. And you just keep breathing in through the belly button, up behind the heart, breathing out through the heart, down into the solar plexus. And it's growing, this radiance of rose gold light all around you, brighter and stronger and bigger, more far-reaching, until it fills up the whole of the room that you're in, and the whole of the building that you're in, and all the people in the building, whatever they're feeling, is being healed by this love as well. And it's radiating beyond your building to your town. And likewise, as you keep breathing, this radiance coming from your solar plexus via your heart is healing the feelings of everybody in your town, in your city, in your country. See it spread further to your continent, see it spread further to your hemisphere, see it spread further to the whole of the planet, see it spread further than even the planets. They're all entities, whether they're corporeal or not, forever and ever and ever. See it spread out so far that we're actually collectively right now healing the feelings of the Tao. Because the Tao makes itself manifest through us so that it can experience itself subjectively through us. So as each of us come together like this and join to heal the feelings within and let that radiate universally, we are collectively actually healing the feelings of the Tao. You really can't do much better than that. And as we're doing that, picture the Tao as some huge being with all of our faces combined as one. As big as the whole universe, as this beautiful, benign, loving being, neither male nor female, but both. with its feelings healed, so it's feeling perfectly settled within itself. It's loving the conflict, it's loving whatever's going on inside. There's so much love that the love is filling every single subatomic particle of existence forever and ever and ever. And the power of this love is indescribable. It's like a bath that's washed the entirety of existence all at once, and cleansed it of all the toxins and the fears and the doubts and the suspiciousness and all the stuff that makes life nasty, replacing it naturally with the love that just wants to go everywhere if it's allowed anyway. So just in this brief moment at least, we have facilitated collectively love going absolutely everywhere. And feel it washing back against you, feel it washing back on you, and splashing over the top of your head and going all over your body and all over your life. Feel the love now going into all aspects of your life, because your feelings are what connect you to all aspects of your life. And the feelings are purified now. The feelings are purified and healed with this love. And so all aspects of your life that are attached to those feelings are likewise healed. This has been a full-on blessing of love, a healing of love that we have performed. And know that just because the meditation is shortly coming to an end, the experience, the space that we've entered into here is eternal. This goes on. This is what's really going on all the time. The rest of it, what we usually think is going on, is just a distraction. Eventually, when we all drop the bodies, this is where we'll be. It's in this place of eternal love. Well, we're there already. We're here already. And know that, because throughout the following week, as you get enmeshed in the doings of the world, there will be this place within that continues. And the more you remember that, the more powerfully it will inform whatever you're doing, and more importantly, and specifically at this point, whatever you're feeling. Before coming back into the so-called everyday state, think of somebody you know who really needs a bit of healing in the feelings right now. And it could be somebody that really is irritating you, somebody who you love and feel sorry for, somebody that you really care about and are worried about. Could be somebody you don't even know, but you just know needs some help. But just think of one person and see them standing in front of you right now, and see their solar plexus there with all the feelings and the conflicts and the pain going on. Because believe me, everybody, without exception, is in pain. And let your love radiate from your solar plexus via your heart, through your solar plexus into theirs. Let that love radiate into their solar plexus really strongly, and see them receive it, and their feelings be healed, and see them soften and acquiesce to the healing. And don't cast them out there, keep your heart open to them, but simultaneously now, see the entirety of the human race right now. As, 7+ billion of us, especially all the ones who are in deep suffering, and there are a lot, although thankfully it's a minority. The overt horrible suffering that's going on, it's not everybody. It's hopefully it's a minority of us, but nonetheless, everybody, every one of us on the planet, to varying degrees, is feeling the existential pain of walking the knife edge between sheer terror and bliss in every moment. Let your love from your heart going out through your solar plexus radiate to everybody. Just let it radiate to all 7+ billion people on the planet right now. Just see it go to the solar plexuses of everybody, if your mind can stretch that far. If you can't, just imagine that it's stretching that far. And imagine 7+ billion people just feeling that healing in the feelings of the solar plexus right now. And it causing a collective sigh of relief that, if you could hear it, would be like 7+ billion people going, "Oh, thank you." And as a reward, think of yourself right now. See yourself actually standing in front of you, so as if there's a doppelganger. And look, there you are, your local self that's beset by challenges and trials and tribulations on every side. Bravely, courageously facing up to the week ahead, in which goodness knows what's going to happen. But there you boldly go, and have compassion for yourself. Have compassion for your local self. See yourself standing there, your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful self, standing there in front of you. and radiate from your solar plexus that healing love into the solar plexus of the projected you in front of you. See yourself filled with it. See your solar plexus filling gratefully with it. And the smile on your projected self's face growing so broad it almost pops over the tops of your ears. And know that in that state of healedness, miracles of all kinds are going to happen to your local self this coming week. The most amazing turnarounds in situations are going to occur. Miracles of serendipity, synchronicity, bringing abundance and healing of all kinds are coming. And see your projected self smile gratefully for that, relieved, getting it, trusting it, knowing it's true, not just some pipe dream. It knows it's true. There's a compact being made now between you and your projected self who's going to go through this week, your local self, that miracles are going to happen to you. And you can rely on those. You can rely on them. And with that confidence, come back into your waking state and allow your eyes to slowly open. Raise your eyelids. And find yourself gazing at a picture of me playing the guitar with a little Buddha man standing behind me, it seems. And I will now ask Sue. Dear Sue, hello. Are there questions?
Hi there. Yes, there are a lot of questions today actually. We've had a lot pre-submitted and we've had quite a few that have come in during the course of the Satsang. So we may not get through them all, but I will endeavour to get through as many as possible. So, the first one is from Albert, who says, can we feel love and fear at the same time?
Good question, Albert. Yes, of course. I mean, this is the idea, really, that, you know, I'd say most of the time, if one were honest with oneself, there is fear constantly. And this would be a throwback to the early biological kind of wiring, when we needed to be in fear most of the time to prevent getting eaten up by wild animals or clubbed to death by competitors or falling off great heights or what have you. And this, you know, pretty much the same these days. You have to keep your wits about you so you don't get run over by cars or electrocuted or fall off ledges or run into gangsters with guns or you fall prey to unscrupulous people in business or whatever it is. You know, that the fear reflex is an important one. And one that you might as well assume is there pretty much all the time and meant to be so. And the idea of this whole thing is to love that, love the fear there, love it, love it, love it. I love this feeling in my solar plexus of being afraid because it makes me feel alive. Could I let go of wanting to change it? Yes, I could let go of wanting to change it. Would I let go of wanting to change it? Yes, I'd let go of wanting to change it. Whoa, I love this, I'm alive, and I love this fear, I love it, I love it, I love it. And you're kind of half convincing yourself. You know, you're talking yourself into loving it. Well, actually, you're commanding yourself to love it. Because you could command yourself to hate it, which is what we normally do without realizing it. Instead, you're commanding yourself to love it because, Albert, this fear is the Tao. This is the Tao in fear form in the solar plexus. And we really must love the Tao. That's the key to our liberation and enlightenment. Next question, Sue.
Hi, Malkit. Are you there, Malkit?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Can you? Oh, good.
I can hear
good.
you. Hi, Market. How are you?
Hi, Steve. I'm well. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. What I wanted to ask you actually was, I've had this knee. I know it's nothing to do with what you've been discussing today, but I've had this. I've had this knee pain for the last few months, and it sort of comes and goes. But I get this shooting pain all the time, coming through the knees, and sometimes it's quite difficult to walk. Sometimes it's okay, but I don't know if you can suggest any acupressure points or.
Well, the first thing is I
similar
have to
to that.
say, the loving it is really appropriate. First of all, because that's the first thing you've got to do. I would imagine, and am I right here, that when you get that shooting pain, it makes you a bit scared. What is that?
Yeah.
Am I falling apart? Yeah. And the tendency is to try and change it, obviously, to resist it, to make it better, to do something with it so it's not there anymore. That's correct, yeah?
Yeah, but it could be arthritis. Who knows? I mean,
Well, it could be anything, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And then fear comes from that. Well, is it arthritis, you know, and wanting to do something, and you get scared of it. Well, the first thing is to love it. As perverted as it may sound, is to say, okay, look, this pain is a message from the Tao of some sort or other. It's telling me hello, and everything the Tao does is love. So this is the Tao loving me in the form of a pain in the knee. I must love this. So first thing is you've got to somehow train your mind to say, I love you, pain. I love you. And that's the first thing, because that in itself will actually start to heal it more powerfully and profoundly than any other kind of intervention that would come afterwards.
Right.
Secondly, once in that space where you're now cooperating with it rather than trying to vanquish it, if you search, because it sounds like it's happening when you're putting weight on the foot.
Yes. Or if I'm sitting, or if I'm sitting still for too long, or in bed for too long. You know, if I'm lying in one position for too long, and then I get this pain. Yeah.
If I can transmit this all in audio, I'll do my best. If you can, is the pain on the inside of the knee or the outside? Is it on the medial aspect towards the ankle, or is it on the lateral aspect towards the outside?
Lateral.
Lateral.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you can press into your thigh muscle, the front of your thigh, the quadriceps, in line with where that pain is in the knee, but about 2 inches or say a plum's distance from the top of the kneecap bone.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you can press in there, I think you'll probably find if you're in direct line, if you're lined up properly with the pain in the knee, I think you'll find that is quite tender there.
Right.
Are you feeling that?
Yeah.
Well, if you can spend quite a lot of time massaging that point and maybe even work up a little higher up the thigh as well on that line, until you can do it without it being painful at all. And then, if you can press in after you've done that for a few seconds or so, if you can then each time you do this, press in under the kneecap in what they call the eyes of the knee. This will be the lateral eye of the knee. That's that dent under the kneecap bone, the knee bone. You might want to use like a pebble, a rounded pebble to do it with, or a crystal or something. If you can press in there, the combination of those two will ease the tension in the kneecap and generally will dissolve or reduce the level of pain significantly.
Oh, no. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Also, knee pain is indicative of an underlying fear of dying, which we all have. I've enumerated that as part of the 5 fears. But it's interesting, I always find, when there is knee pain, to look at what your attitude is towards dying and to come to peace with it a bit. You know, to love that as well. To let that be the friend too, rather than the enemy. Okay.
Thanks,
You're very
Market.
welcome.
All right, our next question is from Dorcas in the US, who says, as I learn to meditate, sit in loving kindness, close family members have fits of rage, anger aimed at me. What is that about?
Hi Dorcas, lovely to hear from you. I would imagine, I'd say that is a mirror to the anger that has been stored within, that is being released through the loving kindness meditation. So when you sit in loving kindness, it doesn't blanket the residual anger. The residual anger will actually come out as an energy form while sitting in the loving kindness as a sort of purification process. And then when others around you, those close to you, which are kind of representative of various aspects of your own psyche, get angry with you, you must thank them, because what they're doing, internally anyway, in your mind, thank them, because what they're doing is they're mirroring to you the anger that's being released. So you see it as a good sign rather than a bad sign. And whatever feelings arise in response to their anger, such as feeling hurt, betrayed, victimized, or whatever, that go on inside your belly and the fear that's attached to all of those feelings, love that. Love that as well. Love the feeling that you've got about the theatre that's going on around you. But don't be afraid of people being angry with you, because that is actually a really healthy sign that you're purifying yourself of the residual anger that's being blocked in you. And you might taking it as a sign that there is some residual anger in there that's needing to be released or is releasing. You might want to look at some form of catharsis, as I described earlier in the session, like taking a tennis bat to a tennis racket to a pile of cushions for 20 minutes and screaming and doing whatever. Just kind of letting go if the opportunity presents itself. It's hugely healing if you can do so.
All right. We have Mary in the UK wanting to ask a question now. So Mary, I'm just going to unmute you. Hi, Mary.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Mary.
Hello, mate. Just to say thank you, Doc, because having been to a couple of your little sing-alongs and the healings and that, and doing a lot of bits with you, I'm actually in remission now, so big woohoo. My question was, is love natural or learned because of a few things I've been going through at the moment? Or is it just any feeling that I get?
First of all,
That
Mary,
makes sense.
you're very welcome. But I couldn't really hear what the question was. It is the what? Did you say?
Is love a natural thing, or is it learned, like a behaviour, or is it just any feeling that comes up, like anything that comes up?
That's a really good question. I mean, no, look, love is not an activity that we learn as such. Love is what we are. Love is our natural essence, and it's what will flow naturally when we allow it. What we have to learn to do is to allow it to flow. So there are these sort of techniques like reminding yourself to keep saying, I love this, I love this, I love this. Remember, I'm alive, I love being alive. And keep reminding yourself, for example. That is training ourselves to be aware of the love and allowing it to flow. And the technique of breathing in that we were doing there, in through the navel and out through the heart, is also a really good method for kind of stimulating the flow of love. Just being with an open heart, just relaxing the chest and allowing the breastbone to soften at all times so that you're not guarding yourself against the world. That allows the love to flow. So yeah, it is a learned technique, allowing the love to flow. But the love itself, we are love. We don't need to learn that. We just need to retrain ourselves back to the natural state, really, is all we're doing.
When we were doing the breathing thing, my stomach was like red hot burning, hot. And I
Nice
thought, this is real, because like, look, sometimes I struggle with things when I'm doing them, and then this is just like felt brilliant. Because
Beautiful.
I think the reason I got ill was because I didn't listen to myself, and I think I lost my authenticity. So I believe this was a lesson to like kick myself up the backside, really. And so then I did a couple of things you said, which was I spoke to all my organs, and I apologised then and to my body for the way I was treating them. And I think after that, things just started to really improve, and like my health just got better, and everything's just happening now.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear it.
It's all good in the hood.
Well, it's really interesting that you make that connection between being authentic and being healthy. I'm right with you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think authenticity essentially means loving. That's really it. That's another way of saying it. Because when you are loving being here, you are authentic. You are being fully yourself. It's when we're in self-pity and in that kind of fear that blocks us from enjoying being alive. That's when we're not being authentic, and we sort of run and hide.
I seriously believe I stopped speaking my truth because of the work I was doing, and I just felt like I had to speak, talk. And once I started just being myself again, I just feel so much better and like sod it all basically. You know what I mean? Don't like to watch what's saying, I've got to listen.
Yeah, because you are love.
Yeah, exactly. And I
You are a love.
Like, yeah.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank
Fantastic news.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bless
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. The next question is from another Mary. How do I maintain the feeling of bliss that I experience when I'm with my soulmate who is often away, to keep that love of feeling when negative energies come in to take it away?
I think that's a great example, Mary, of what we've just been doing, which is that you naturally feel a synergy. The love grows exponentially when you're with your soulmate. You feel that the bliss that comes from that, and then naturally there is the pain of separation. It must come, and naturally in the phases of separation, other energies will come in, which will naturally serve as opposites to the feeling of bliss, because there is yin and there is yang. And the tendency would be to try and push those away, like you were saying, try and hold on to the bliss. The only way to keep bliss being perpetual is to love the opposite of the bliss as well, and then it becomes bliss. That's the trick here. That's exactly the formula. So when you're feeling whatever the opposite of the bliss is, the sort of dismay, the feeling disgruntled, the feeling unsettled and disturbed, whatever it is that's going on at those times of so-called non-bliss, you have to start and go, look, okay, I feel this feeling in my belly. I'm generating this feeling. It's not the people outside of me. They're just the triggers. I'm generating it inside in response to them. And the reason I'm doing it, not because I'm crazy, but because this makes me feel alive. And I love feeling alive. And I love this feeling. I love this conflict inside of me. I love this dismay. I love this feeling of being disgruntled. I'm loving it. I'm choosing to love this now. I love you feeling. And as soon as you do that, it dissolves and becomes bliss again. That's the key. That's the formula.
This question is from Henry. How can we really accept things as they are when you feel an urge to change it and make it better for someone?
How do we accept things as they are when you feel a need to change it and make it better for someone? I know it's really difficult. You see somebody that you love suffering and you really want to make it better for them. I think the only thing you can do, dearest Henry, is to let the feelings inside you return to a state of peacefulness. To do that by loving the conflict you're feeling inside. Because you can be in command of what goes on inside of you. And once you've managed to let the love bathe and heal what it is you're feeling in reaction to what's going on with the person you love, it radiates from you to them. And at least then they can bask in your love. At least then they can bask in your feeling of equilibrium, of love in equilibrium. And from there you will feel naturally impelled to do whatever you do, to touch them, to stroke them, to caress them, to bring them things, to do whatever it is you do. But it's not the things that you do that make the difference. It's the atmosphere in which these things happen. And that's generated by the love that you're feeling inside for whatever it is you're feeling, so that you're not fighting with reality. You're loving it. And that love then encompasses the other, and in that some kind of healing can occur in the moment. I know that you sent me that question in an email before, and I sent you the acceptance audio, which is up on the site somewhere for anyone who wants to. I really recommend it. I was listening to it before, and it's really appropriate to where we are now, because it's got an affirmation in it that, I've manifested everything in my life exactly as it is up until this point to produce exactly this feeling, because this is the feeling that makes me feel most alive. And it's quite an uplifting one to have a listen to, so I strongly recommend you go on the site and have a little listen to that. See?
I will send everybody the link to that when I send the recording out of today's satsang. Okay, so the next question is from Janet, who says, I'm afraid by loving the anger or depression, I'll get stuck in it or move from feeling angry to acting it out on others.
Yeah, no, I can see that. So not only do you have the propensity for the anger to be there and the depression to be there, but there's a tendency for fear to be there. The fear is I'm afraid of. Doesn't matter what you're afraid of, there's fear there as well. And it still comes down to the same thing, Janet. It's like, could I let go of wanting to change this fear of my anger overtaking me, my depression overtaking me? Yes, I could let go of wanting to change this fear of my anger or depression overtaking me. Would I let go of wanting to? Yes, I would let go of wanting to change it. And then loving the fear that you're feeling about getting stuck in the anger, and loving the anger because it's life. This anger is the Tao as well. The feeling stuck or whatever it is the Tao as well, and loving it even in that form. It wants to be loved. It's there because it's trying to get your attention. It's saying, hey, Janet, 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 I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Be aware of me. This is the Tao talking. And as soon as you say, I love you, even in that horrible twisted shape in my belly that you are right now, I love you, it transforms. The twist comes unstuck and you become relaxed again. That's the key.
How many more questions would you like to take, Stephen?
2, please.
2. Hank says, thank you for a beautiful meditation, by the way.
Thanks, Hank. Bless you. How's it in Costa Rica?
Now, I know we have a question here from Jenny, which I'm going to come to next. Here we are. Jenny says, can sudden illness be a catalyst to a more fulfilling life?
Jenny, hi. Yeah, I mean, unless it's fatal, I guess all illness is a catalyst to a more fulfilling life. Any reminder of our mortality and overcoming the fears associated with that reminds us how utterly amazing it is to be here and to love every minute of it, whether it's difficult or easy. So never getting too caught up in the theatre of life to become, bamboozled by it enough to forget the miracle that we're actually here. So yes, I think in my experience and watching other people as well, any brushes with illness and possibility of dying makes us appreciate being here far more. And in fact, you can consciously, actively choose that to be the case when there's an ache or a pain or an illness, to say, I choose for this to make me appreciate being alive more and to help me live a far more fulfilling life. I choose to let this remind me how beautiful it is to be alive. We're in command of what goes on in that sense. We choose it. And so, yes, is the answer to that. Absolutely.
So the last question for today is from Albert, who says, what can we do when we think we're unworthy of love?
Hi, Albert, again. Well, I think, really, the fact that, if we're going to take it intellectually to start with, the fact that we're here, and if you take it that, the Tao is love, like God is love, the Tao is love, love being the generative, creative, primordial force of existence, and it manifested itself as you, as Albert. That's one of its forms. Now, if it saw fit to do that, then you've got to be worthy, just from an intellectual point of view, if nothing else. It stands to reason that you are worthy, or the Tao would not have chosen to manifest as you. And to think otherwise, in a way, is kind of a little bit arrogant, really, to assume that we might know better than the Tao. The Tao chose to manifest as Albert, so therefore Albert is worthy, Albert is beautiful, Albert is the Tao. And to overcome that blockage, which is really kind of what it is, of allowing, the blockage to the love flowing freely, the way is to do the loving. And the way to do the loving, when you strip it of all the romance, is exactly as we were just doing, which is to breathe in and breathe out through the heart, and just let the stream of energy that comes out through your breastbone, as it were, radiate to the object of your thoughts in that moment, whether it's to yourself, to another person, to the world around you. Just do the loving. Just see that stream of rose gold energy, light energy, moving from you to everyone. And spend a few minutes doing it every day. It doesn't even just a few seconds. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just as long as you touch base with it for a brief moment every day and allow that love to radiate, that unblocks the flow. And in unblocking the flow, you then start to receive the love as well. You start to allow yourself to receive that love. As you breathe in, you're drawing the love back in, knowing all the while that you are worthy. You could keep reminding yourself, I'm worthy of this, I'm worthy of this. And I love the feeling of that I'm unworthy. I love that conflict in me. That's fine too. Meantime, I'm worthy. I know I'm worthy. I'm choosing to be worthy. It's all an opinion anyway. And let the love bathe me and heal me, and let it heal everybody else. And on that note, allowing the love to heal you and bathe you, and to heal and bathe everybody else, I say it's time to say goodbye. It's been very, very, very beautiful talking to you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me the privilege of conducting the session. And I do truly, deeply wish you a week of miracles, of the most amazing things happening to you. And I wager you my shoes that it will be that way. Okay, that's me out. Thank you very, very much indeed. Bye.
You know what to do. 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 to do.